Hi! As a break between my vlogs, I decided to create a travel guide about Iceland. I will share some tips on when and how to travel around Iceland, where to stay, and I will also present my suggestions for one-day trips that may help you see as many popular attractions as possible. Iceland is one of my favorite places on earth. Been there twice over the past few years, each time traveling in a different way and during different seasons. So I will use my experience and research to make this guide useful for anyone planning to visit Iceland someday. Let's get started. The first important thing that affects many aspects of traveling in Iceland is the weather. Icelandic weather is unpredictable all year round. It's a bit more stable in spring and summer, but it can still surprise you, no matter the season. There is even a saying, if you don't like the weather in Iceland, just get back in your car and wait 5 minutes. The weather can change quickly, not only if you stay in one place for a while, but also while you are driving across the country. It can go from bright sunshine to heavy rain, strong winds, or even snow, especially if you are visiting in autumn or winter. So when it comes to clothes, always bring layers that you can easily add or remove as the temperature changes. And never leave your accommodation without windproof and waterproof clothes. Also, good quality waterproof hiking boots are recommended for any trip in Iceland. These are the general rules regarding clothes here, no matter the season. Additionally, in autumn and winter, some roads may be closed due to the harsh weather conditions, and you can't predict exactly which roads will be closed or when. So sometimes you might unexpectedly discover along the way that you won't be able to reach a place you had planned to visit that day. So when is the best time to visit Iceland? Well, that depends on what you are looking for, because the weather is not the only factor you should consider. Days in Iceland are much longer in spring and summer and much shorter in autumn and winter. Trust me, sightseeing is much harder when the weather is very unstable, some roads are closed, and daylight lasts only about 5 hours. Additionally, some attractions are seasonal. For example, puffins are in Iceland from April to September, but the best time to see them is June, July and August. On the other hand, the northern lights appear when the days are shorter and the nights are dark enough, which means from September to April. The darker the nights, the higher the chances of seeing the northern lights, and the brighter and more intense they will be, so it's actually better to look for them between October and March. But I would not recommend this entire period, which I will explain in a moment. As you've probably noticed, it's difficult to see puffins and northern lights at the same time. If you choose April or September, you might see some puffins and northern lights as well, but probably not so intense. But there is also a chance you won't see either of them, as this is not the full season for any of them. So, to sum up this part, if you want a high chance of seeing puffins, go between June and August. The days are longer, the weather is more stable and warmer, and there is less risk of road closures. But you probably won't see the northern lights. And this is high season, so flights and accommodation prices may be a bit higher. However, if you want a good chance of seeing an intense northern lights, I would recommend a specific month: October, February or March. Prices might be a bit lower, but the weather can be a bit unstable and cold, with some roads closed or difficult to drive on. The days will be shorter, but still long enough to see a lot if you have a good plan. But you probably won't see puffins. I would not recommend going between November and January at all, as this is the most risky season due to the bad weather, road closures and very short daylight hours. All of this can make exploring Iceland very difficult and may ruin your plans multiple times during that period. So, coming back to the first two options, choose the second one if seeing the northern lights is important to you. But if not, go for the first one. I tried both of them and both were great. And I feel like I need to add something extra about the northern lights. I was in Iceland in the second half of October. I had 9 full days there and I traveled around the whole country. I saw the aurora 5 times during that trip, And what I learned is that every Northern Lights looks different. It depends on many factors at a specific moment, like for example solar activity, the altitude at which aurora appears, the season, the weather, and the exact location where you are watching it from. Some Northern Lights I saw were more static, while others moved a lot. Some were barely visible, while others were intensely green and spread across the whole sky. Seeing the Northern Lights from the same area during the same month doesn't really represent the full experience of every aurora. From what I've observed, the chances of seeing a more intense and spectacular Northern Lights are higher in the north of Iceland, but I still enjoyed the ones I saw in the south too. There is a website that predicts when and where the aurora will appear. The link is in the description. It may help you find your perfect Northern Lights experience. And now back to basics. Where should you stay in Iceland? Because of the mentioned weather conditions, I have to say that camping in a tent is a very risky option. Not just because of the rain, snow and temperature, but mostly because of the wind. Iceland is one of the windiest inhabited places on Earth. I remember one evening when I was driving a car through Iceland, but the wind was so strong that it was literally pushing the car, even though there were 4 people inside. I had to constantly adjust the steering wheel to avoid being blown off the road. Now imagine setting up a tent in those conditions. And don't get me wrong, camping is possible if you prepare well and get lucky with the weather. I know people who successfully camped in Iceland. But I also know people whose tents got soaked, drowned in the mud, got blown away by the wind, or who simply gave up after the first night because it was way too cold. If you've never camped this far north, please don't compare it to camping in other countries. It's a completely different climate and different conditions, which might make camping impossible or just super uncomfortable. I have no experience with camper vans myself, but from what I know, they can be a good compromise. Still, remember to prepare for very changeable weather and temperatures. Also, some roads in Iceland are a bit wild and require 4x4, so be careful with that. But many attractions are quite close to the main roads, so you shouldn't have any trouble reaching them with a camper van. What I recommend instead is using Airbnb. Iceland is expensive in general, but the earlier you start looking for Airbnb accommodations, the more options you will have and the lower prices you can find. Plus, you can find larger rooms for more than 2 people, so if you are traveling with friends, you can split the cost and it won't be that expensive. And by the way, don't worry about cash. In Iceland you can pay by card basically everywhere. Another important thing is how should you travel around Iceland. There are 2 main options. One is booking organized tours to specific places on websites like Get Your Guide. I will talk more about must-see locations soon, so you will know exactly which tours to look for. The other option, which I recommend more, is renting a car. This is especially good if you are traveling with friends, and again, you can split the cost. I've tried both options and they were both fine, but renting a car gives you more freedom to choose which places to visit and lets you see more during your trip. I rented a car from Iceball. They picked us up from the airport, explained everything clearly, and there were no issues with the car or the rental process, so I can definitely recommend them. The link to their website is in the description. If you rent a car, you might be thinking about driving around the whole island. In my opinion, it's worth doing only if your entire stay is longer than a week. Trying to drive around the whole country in a week or less won't mean you will see everything. It will just mean you drove all the way around Iceland. You will see some attractions, but Iceland is not that small and has a lot of amazing places, so if you don't have enough time, you will have to skip many of them and spend a lot of time in the car, just to make it all the way around before your trip ends. So if you are in Iceland for a week or less, I suggest staying in Reykjavik or nearby and focusing on exploring the south of the country. That's where you will find many of the most popular attractions. You can easily fill a whole week just visiting the south, and you still won't see everything. That's why in this video I will focus on the attractions in the south of Iceland and one-day trips from Reykjavik and back. But if you are planning a longer stay and want to explore the whole country, I've created a public Google map with all the best places to visit around Iceland. It can help no matter how long your trip is or which part of the Iceland you are exploring. The link to the map is in the description. Now let's talk about must-see and must-try things in Iceland in the form of one-day trips. And I apologize for my pronunciation of Icelandic names. I will do my best. First up, Reynisfjara Beach, then we have Skógafoss and Seljalandsfoss waterfalls. Reynisfjara is the famous black sand beach with unique rock formations in the water in the distance, as well as the cave and the amazing pillar-shaped rocks. In summer, you might even see puffins there. And be careful though, don't get too close to the water or turn your back on the waves. The waves here are sneaky and can easily pull you into the ocean. But still, it's a beautiful place, highly recommend it. The two waterfalls are very popular attractions. Skógafoss is massive, one of the highest waterfalls in Iceland, and its powerful water cascade creates a beautiful rainbow on sunny days. And Seljalandsfoss has a path that lets you walk behind it. Just remember to wear waterproof clothes, as the mist from both waterfalls can easily get you wet. For the same reason, I suggest visiting the waterfalls at the end of the day, in this specific order, cause you don't want to get all your clothes wet at the very start of the trip. If you are booking tours, Get Your Guide has two options. You can either visit just these three places and return, or you can add a glacier hike. It depends on your physical condition and how much time you want to spend on this trip. We did the glacier hike and it was so much fun. It lasted about 1 hour and wasn't too difficult, but it was definitely a unique experience. If you rent a car, you can also do the glacier hike from Get Your Guide separately on another day. You just need to drive to the meeting point near the glacier. Just make sure the tour you book includes the right gear. No matter how you are traveling, I strongly recommend only going to the glacier with proper equipment and a guide. It's not too hard physically, but it can be dangerous if you are not well prepared and don't have someone experienced with you. So as long as you are part of organized tour, I can definitely recommend it. Links to the specific tours are in the description. My next suggestion is Jökulsárlón Lagoon. It's a few hours from Reykjavik, but definitely doable in one day and totally worth of your time. This is where parts of a nearby glacier fall into the water, creating beautiful, majestic blue icebergs that float around. Right next to the lagoon, closer to the ocean, there is a diamond beach with clear pieces of ice that look like diamonds, so make sure to check that out too. Jökulsárlón Lagoon is, in my opinion, the most beautiful place in Iceland. The icebergs are always moving, so it's worth coming back every time you visit Iceland, because the lagoon looks different each time. And by the way, right next to the parking lot there are few food trucks. Last time we had fantastic fish and chips at one of them. It may not look spectacular, but it tastes amazing. I can recommend it if you spot that they are still around. Next one-day trip is the famous Golden Circle, which includes Þingvellir National Park, Geysir and Gullfoss waterfall. On the way back to Reykjavik you can also add the Kerið crater. The first place on this list is a national park where you can see the crack between the tectonic plates, the North American and Eurasian ones. It's a really nice place for a walk, and just under half an hour from the viewpoint you will find a waterfall called Öxarárfoss. Next up is Geysir. As you probably guessed, it's a place full of geysers, but only one erupts regularly, about every 5 till 10 minutes. The rest are either dormant or erupt very rarely. Then we have Gullfoss, a huge, epic waterfall. Definitely the most impressive part of the Golden Circle. Again, remember to wear waterproof clothes, because the mist can easily get you wet. Last on the list after the Golden Circle is Kerið crater. It's a volcanic lake with a turquoise color surrounded by red crater slopes that formed about 3000 years ago. It's easily accessible and you can walk around it if you have enough time. The Golden Circle is one of the most popular and commercial attractions in Iceland, so you will probably see a lot of tourists there, but it's definitely worth visiting if it's your first time in Iceland. My next suggestion is to take a day to rest and relax. On the map in the video description there are recommended hot spring spots, like for example Blue Lagoon, Sky Lagoon and Secret Lagoon. Visiting any hot springs is an experience you must try in Iceland. Just remember to make a reservation before your visit if you choose one of the first two options. If you will have a few free hours, a walk around Reykjavik would be a great idea. The capital of Iceland is a small, charming city by the bay. It's worth trying some local food and visiting at least one of the cozy pubs. I also recommend walking along the main streets and seeing famous places like Harpa, the Viking boat and of course Hallgrímskirkja church. If there aren't too many clouds and visibility is good, it's worth going up the church tower for a beautiful view of Reykjavik. I also recommend signing up for a free walking tour with a local guide, just to learn more interesting details about the city and Iceland in general in a short time. The link is in the description. If you've seen all the previous places and still have time for one day trip, I suggest heading a bit west to explore the Snæfellsnes Peninsula as it's full of attractions. One of them is Kirkjufell, the famous mountain with its distinctive shape, and from a specific viewpoint you might recognize it as a wallpaper motif, as it forms the background for the waterfall. Next is Sviðafoss, again beautiful waterfall but this time hidden among the rocks. And the next spot is my favorite on this road. It's Lundrakar, where you can see incredible cliffs and sea stacks. It's a fantastic viewpoint that I highly recommend. If you like this place, you will probably enjoy the next stop as well, which is Arnarstapi village. Here you will see even more epic cliffs and rocks. There is also the Bardur statue, which represents a half-troll, half-man who was the protector of the peninsula. Finally, on the way back, you can make a quick stop to see the Black Church Búlakirkja, which is also a great view, especially during the good weather. And one of my last suggestions in this guide, if you are looking for a place for trekking, it's worth checking out Þórsmörk, Lammelaugar or the trail from Hveragerði. I haven't been to all of them yet, but I visited the last one. It will take you to the river, where you will find wild hot springs available to tourists for free. It's a nice reward after a 2-hour uphill walk with a beautiful view. It's worth mentioning that if a volcano erupts during your stay, you might want to consider checking it out. Just like Northern Lights, every eruption is different. Sometimes they happen close to the city, can be dangerous and lead to evacuations. Other times they occur out in nature, far from inhabited areas and also far from the nearest parking lot. Some eruptions aren't safe to visit, while others can be watched from a safe distance. In such cases, new guided tours with transportation are often added on Get Your Guide to take visitors to the eruption site. Just stay updated with the news, check the eruption's location and related recommendations, and make sure you are safe. If you have any questions, leave a comment or contact me on Instagram. I will try to reply to all of them. And remember, this was my subjective guide based on my research and experience, and I believe that every way of exploring Iceland is the best as long as you enjoy the whole trip. Also, remember that in the description you will find tours on Get Your Guide and link to a map where I've marked even more attractions around the whole country. Plus, a recommended car rental, hot spring spots and a few other useful details, including a recommended grocery store chain that can make your trip a bit less expensive. I hope this helps you plan a great trip. Iceland is one of my favorite places to come back to, so I'm sure I will post many vlogs from this beautiful country in the future. And this summer we went on an amazing trip to the fjords in Norway. And that will be the next vlog on this channel. Please subscribe so you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. And thank you for watching. Leave some comments, likes and see you soon. Bye!